What if 3I Atlas isn't just a random celestial tourist, but something intentional? What if it carries biological material? What if it's a probe, deliberately launched from a distant civilization, arriving at our solar system's doorstep not by accident, but by calculation? Let's take a look. On July 1st, 2025, something quietly arrived at the edge of human awareness. Not a signal from space, not a mysterious flash in the sky, but a visitor. The Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, otherwise known as ATLAS, a NASA-funded network scanning the heavens for threats, caught it. Faint, distant, traveling on a collision course, not with Earth, but with time itself. Its name? 3I Atlas, and you've probably heard a ton about it the past several weeks. The 3I means something profound. This isn't a local comet born in our cosmic neighborhood. This is the third confirmed interstellar object to pass through our solar system. A stranger from another star. A wanderer between worlds. And here's where it gets under your skin. It arrived with questions, anomalies, contradictions that refuse simple explanations. In the coming weeks, as 3I Atlas spirals into our cosmic backyard, at its closest point arriving in December 2025, astronomers worldwide are racing to solve a riddle wrapped in ice and fire. Because interstellar comets don't just show up. They carry secrets, ancient secrets. Secrets that humanity might not be ready to understand. Let's establish what we know before we venture into what we wonder. On June 14th, 2025, data archives from observatories around the world captured the faint smudge of 3I Atlas before anyone officially noticed it. But the official recognition came on July 1st from Chile's Rio Hurtado Observatory. Within days, 122 observations flooded in from 31 observatories on Earth. The data was immediately unusual. Imagine something the size of a mountain, or perhaps a skyscraper, hurtling through the void. And that's where this gets interesting. The composition. High concentrations of carbon dioxide, unusually elevated nickel levels, the kind of chemistry that doesn't quite match our local comets, those lazy recycled refugees from the Oort cloud and the Kuiper belt. No. 3I Atlas came from beyond, from another solar system entirely. The trajectory is unbound, hyperbolic. It arrived on a path that suggests it's leaving the galaxy, not visiting. This comet has been traveling for perhaps 7 billion years. Some estimates suggest it's older than Earth itself, ejected from a distant star system in the ancient universe. On October 30th, 2025, it reached perihelion, or its closest approach to the Sun, at about 130 million miles away, nestled just inside Mars's orbit. Safe, but close enough to be studied. And then something happened that made scientists scratch their heads. The comet developed an anti-tail. An anti-tail defies basic intuition. Instead of pointing away from the Sun like normal comet tails, this structure pointed toward it. Backward. Defiant. Meanwhile, radio telescopes in South Africa, the Meerkat Observatory, detected the first radio emissions ever recorded from an interstellar comet. Not alien signals, not anything sinister, just radio waves. The physics works. Charged particles in the coma emitting wavelengths. Ordinary, and yet, the moment you point a radio telescope at something from another star system, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. By mid-October, 3I Atlas vanished behind the Sun, occulted, invisible from Earth, precisely during its perihelion passage. Only Mars rovers got a glimpse. NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter tracked it silently while Mission Control held its breath. And when 3I Atlas emerged in November, it had changed. The coma, the halo of gas and dust, no longer looked elongated toward the sun. It had grown a multi-jet tail system, multiple plumes, multiple personalities. Astronomical teams, including the James Webb Telescope and the Hubble Space Telescope, are now locked onto it. Ultraviolet analysis, detailed imagery, all trained on this unexpected wanderer from the void. The visibility window? Through December 2025. After that, it recedes into the black, heading back to where it came from, or perhaps somewhere far beyond. And humanity will never see 3I Atlas again. But long before telescopes, long before modern astronomy, humanity understood something about visitors from the stars. The ancients called them omens. In medieval Europe, when Halley's Comet blazed across the 1066 sky, the Norman conquest followed, recorded forever in the Bayeux Tapestry, a harbinger of change. Geoffrey of Monmouth, chronicling King Arthur, described a star with a single beam shining from it. At the end of this beam was a ball of fire, spread out in the shape of a dragon. Dragon-shaped, fiery, transformative. Some scholars argue that Uther Pendragon, Arthur's father, took his very name from this cosmic visitor. In Chinese cosmology, dragons descending from the heavens during comet appearances signaled the fall of dynasties, the mandate of heaven disrupted, the natural order inverted. Comets are cosmic tricksters, and interstellar comets, those are tricksters from another reality entirely. They don't belong to us. They carry no loyalty to our solar system, our narratives, our understanding of order. They appear, they pass, they're gone. But in their brief visit, everything changes perspective. For 7 billion years, 3I Atlas traveled alone between the stars. And in July 2025, for the first time in its ancient existence, it entered our story. Here's where the conventional narrative softens, becomes porous. Let's walk through the threshold where the visible facts dissolve into the realm of possibility. What if 3I Atlas isn't just a random celestial tourist, but something intentional? The discovery timing is curious. In a year where NASA operations stumbled, government shutdowns delaying responses, this hyperbolic visitor arrives and cannot be ignored. What if the multi-jet tail system, those peculiar plumes, represent something more than standard outgassing? What if the unusual composition, the elevated nickel, the carbon dioxide signatures speak to materials not found in our neighborhood? Exotic matter. Engineered, perhaps, or simply alien in the truest sense. What if the radio signals detected by Meerkat are in fact the comet communicating? Not in the Hollywood sense of deliberate messaging, but in the sense of intentional radiation release, a beacon to mark its passage. Consider this. The comet went dark exactly during its closest approach to the sun, disappearing from observation windows at the precise moment when its behavior would be most revealing. And now, as it reemerges, it's moving through Virgo and approaching Leo, the constellations where, in ancient astrology, transformation and rebirth manifest. The hero cycle. The lion awakens. Some people would argue, off the record, in forums where serious consideration can breathe, that this timing, this trajectory, this composition, and this behavior represent something other than a random block of ice and rock. What if 3I Atlas is a messenger? Not from an alien civilization, though the universe contains multitudes, but a messenger from our far past of our own solar system, from a time when things were different, when knowledge was distributed differently. What if it carries biological material? Organic compounds locked in its nucleus, preserved for billions of years in the hard vacuum, now melting in the solar wind, releasing alien life into our system. What if it's a probe, deliberately launched from a distant civilization, arriving at our solar system's doorstep not by accident, but by calculation? These questions breathe in the space between proof and wonder. They're not claims, they're invitations to think differently about what normal means. And the truth is, we can't definitively rule them out. At least, not yet. Now let's take a step back. The astronomical consensus is clear. 3I Atlas is a comet, a natural object composed of volatiles and rocky material. It obeys the laws of orbital mechanics, thermodynamics, and chemistry that we understand. There are very good reasons for this assessment. The orbit can be calculated using standard gravitational models. The coma and tail can be explained by sublimation, frozen gases transitioning directly to vapor as the nucleus approaches the sun. The anti-tail, standard physics. Solar wind pressure and radiation pressure create multiple tail structures. We've seen them before. The composition, while unusual compared to local comets, it's not impossible. In fact, it's expected that a comet from another star system would have different proportions. Different formation conditions in a different solar system produce different volatile to rock ratios. The radio emissions are straightforward plasma physics, charged particles interacting with solar wind. And the timing, pure probability. The universe is vast, objects are continuously moving through it. The odds that one would pass through our solar system are non-zero. Every few years, the possibility manifests. There's no evidence for anything beyond conventional astrophysics here. The multi-jet tail is fascinating but explainable. Different volatiles, CO2, methane, ammonia, sublimate at different temperatures and rates as the nucleus rotates and different regions heat up. Multiple sources, multiple jets, ordinary chaos. NASA, ESA, and independent observatories worldwide have trained their instruments on 3I Atlas specifically because we want to learn from it, from genuine scientific curiosity, from the hunger to understand how comets from other star systems behave, how their composition differs, what they tell us about conditions in distant regions of the galaxy. This is real science, conducted by people who would stake their careers on rigor. And yet, here's the honest admission. We've been wrong before. Oumuamua, the first interstellar visitor in 2017 that we know of, sparked similar speculation. What is it? Why does its trajectory show slight deviations? Could it be artificial? The answer, probably not. Most likely a natural object with an unusual shape. But here's what's true. For a brief window in 2017, we didn't know. The mystery was real. The ambiguity was legitimate. And 3I Atlas right now exists in the same liminal space. The evidence points to natural formation. The physics works. The explanations hold. But the universe also contains spaces, places where our certainty dims, when multiple interpretations coexist at least temporarily. This comet carries 7 billion years of solitude. It's traveled further than human consciousness has ever consciously turned its gaze. And in December 2025, it will be closest to us. Observably closest. And then it will leave, receding into the void. Forever. We have maybe 6 weeks to ask our questions, to point our telescopes, our spectrometers, our cameras, our instincts at this visitor. What will we learn? Time will tell. But here's something we know for certain. Something ancient has arrived. Something that doesn't belong to us. And in its presence, we're forced to consider what we thought we understood about our place in the cosmos. That alone is worth the mystery.